Answer. Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt is sponsored by the Marquardt Law Firm and does not attempt to solve your individual legal problems upon the basis of information contained herein. Instead, contact an attorney to discuss the specific facts and circumstances of your unique situation. The views and opinions of this program do not reflect the views of the Salem Media Group.
Order in the court. Be seated.
It's time for Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt. Todd Marquardt, attorney at law in Texas. If you're a millionaire or a thousandaire, Talk Law Radio is now on the air. Call in with your business law question, your elder law question, veteran aid, Medicaid, build a business to get paid. 210-308-8867. Or ask a question online at marquardtlawfirm.com. That's MARQUARDT lawfirm.com. And now it's Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt.
Welcome to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt, on the radio, on podcasts everywhere, on Facebook Live, and on YouTube. Also, check out talklawradio.com, where you can find all my episodes archived, so you can search for legal topics that are misunderstood or having trouble working with. Each episode, I talk about some Texas or federal law or regulation that needs some explaining. Now it's time to discover your legal issue blind spots by listening to me talk about the law on the radio. And today I'm going to be talking about education that I caught up with this past week. Continuing legal education is mandated by the State Bar of Texas. And I think we're required to have 15 hours a year. I usually do at least double that. And I'm going to be talking about elder law today, new laws, regulations, court cases, changes that administrative agencies have made, like Health and Human Services. Specifically, I'll be talking about transitioning between public benefit programs, Medicaid updates, how to enroll in Medicare, what is a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust, updates from Health and Human Services again, and Adult Protective Services. Now, you're probably wondering, what is elder law? The National Elder Law Foundation defines elder law as the legal practice of counseling and representing older persons and their families about the legal aspects of health and long-term care planning, public benefits, surrogate decision-making, older persons' legal capacity, the conservation, disposition, and administration of older persons' estates, and the implementation of their decisions concerning such matters, giving due consideration to the applicable tax consequences of the action or the need for more sophisticated tax expertise. That's a lot of stuff, isn't it? If you have a question about elder law, you can call me right now today, Saturday, August 2nd, 2025 at 210-308-8867, 210-308-8867, or post a comment on Facebook where we're having the live feed going. If you haven't heard of me yet, I'm Todd Marquardt. I'm an elder law attorney here in San Antonio. I've been practicing for 18 years, and I have my law office is here. 4 other attorneys work with me, have a paralegal with over 20 years of experience, and we have a friendly staff that welcomes people into our office. We sit down with our clients and answer their questions, no matter how big or small. So I just wanted to remind you, if you didn't know who I was, I didn't grow up here. I'm actually from New Mexico, but I went to St. Mary's University School of Law, and I've been here for over 20 years. And so now I'm going to give you some more background about elder law and why Medicaid is a big part of it. But before I do that, let's say a prayer. Dear God, thank you for this day. Thank you for all the gifts and blessings that you give to us. Please forgive us for our sins, for our mistakes, for doing the wrong thing or failing to follow your will. Help us to follow your will more closely, and help us to use the gifts and talents you have given us for the good of your people, for our own good, and for your glory. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, so now we're going to be talking about elder law and Medicaid specifically. And so I wanted to give you some background about why Medicaid is such a big part of elder law. And the reason is because long-term care is expensive. Have you ever wondered what it's going to be like when you're 85, 95, or 105 years old? Are you going to be able to do everything that you can do now? Or are you going to need assistance from a caregiver with activities of daily living like toileting, showering, meal preparation, and maybe just getting up out of the chair or getting out of bed, maybe just walking down the hallway? Do you have a history of memory loss in your family, like Alzheimer's or dementia? Do you think that'll ever happen to you? If it does, how are you going to pay for caregivers or assisted living or nursing home care or memory care? Do you have a bunch of money saved up, or do you have long-term care insurance, or do you think the government's going to pay for it? Well, that's why I talk about Medicaid, because there's a whole population of people that didn't know that they were going to live to be 85, 95, and 105 years old, because maybe their parents didn't live to be that old. But you see, doctors have figured out how to keep us alive a long time, and now we're seeing people living longer with disabilities, physical disabilities, where they have challenges getting around, or they have memory impairment or cognitive decline because of stroke or heart attack or Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, lots of other diseases that cause somebody to need to have some type of care. Medicaid, not Medicare. Medicare pays for hospitalization and maybe doctor's visits, maybe prescription drugs, but it doesn't pay for long-term care. It doesn't pay for you to stay years in a nursing home. It doesn't pay for you to stay in a memory care facility. But sometimes Medicaid will. Medicaid primarily covers a wide range of medical services for low-income individuals and families. It starts with kids. Sometimes kids can get Medicaid to pay for doctor's visits and for health issues. And so I'll talk a little bit about how you can transition between different programs. There are so many different government programs that include Medicaid, and they don't all have the same eligibility requirements for getting qualified. And so you're probably asking yourself, why do I need a lawyer to apply for government benefits? Well, the answer is, well, need is sort of a strong word. You don't have to have a lawyer to get qualified for government benefits. Back in the olden days, my mom worked for Medicaid when we were living in New Mexico, and she would sit down with an applicant across from her desk, and they would talk about all of the requirements in order to get qualified. Well, that's no longer the case. You don't see a caseworker. You apply online, or you mail in the application, or you send a fax, and you may never talk to a caseworker. Sometimes they do call and ask additional questions. A lot of times their additional questions are sent in the mail, where they ask you for more documents, because for every question on the application, you have to prove it with a piece of paper all the way down to a copy of your driver's license. So I'm going to talk more about Medicaid and elder law after the break, but remember that this is Talk Law Radio, where I help you discover your legal issue blind spots by listening to me talk about the law on the radio. And you can call and ask a question if you want to. Call 210 380 8867. 210 380 8867. It says Saturday, August 2nd, 2025. And I'm live in the studio with Lexi, who's taking a nap. I really ought to get her a chair so that you can see her on camera. But if you go to Facebook, you can see a picture of her there. Be right back.
Planning for your summer vacation? Don't forget to plan for the things that really matter. None of us are guaranteed tomorrow. Have you planned for your final affairs? Why spend time and money on vacation plans but neglect your legacy? Contact Marquardt Law Firm today. Our attorneys focus on business and estate law, including last wills, living trusts, and tax-protected inheritance plans. Call 210-530-4278. That's 210-530-4278. Or visit marquardtlawfirm.com.
9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt, on the radio, on podcasts everywhere, on Facebook Live. Right now, you can post a comment if you have a question, or you can call the show live right now. I'm here in studio. You can call 210-380-8867, 210-380-8867. Or if you just want to schedule an appointment at Marquardt Law Firm, you can call Marquardt Law Firm at 210-530-4278, 210-530-4278, or chat online at marquardtlawfirm.com. That's M as in mother, ARQUAR, D as in David, T as in Timothy, lawfirm.com to schedule a consultation. Now, the reason I'm talking to you today is because I just returned from continuing legal education about updates in elder law. And I wanted you to know the same updates that I know. And that's why I'm talking about it today. I help a lot of people qualify for Medicaid to pay the high cost of long-term care. But to understand how to transition through different programs, I wanted you to know that there's different programs for different age groups, like children can qualify for Medicaid for health insurance. And then you can also qualify for Medicaid if you're a disabled adult and you have low income and low assets, and you get supplemental security income. That comes with Medicaid to pay for medical visits and healthcare concerns. So the first topic is transitioning between public benefit programs. Life changes can trigger a need to change programs. So contact an attorney if you're on a program and you see one of these coming down the pike. If you're a child, you could age out of the program. So the changes in age can give you a triggering event that the program needs to change based on age. If you're a child, or if you're turning 65, well, then you're probably applying for Medicare, health insurance for older people. If you have a change in your health, there's a program that provides Medicaid for breast or cervical cancer. Now, you probably have to have low income and low assets as well, but just know that changes in health can cause somebody to change programs that they're on. They might need more care. If you're receiving Medicaid to pay for a caregiver to come to your home for some number of hours a day, some number of times per week, if you have increased care needs, you might need to move into a nursing home. Or if you're in a nursing home, you might actually get better. Doesn't happen a lot, but it can happen. And then when you go back home, you can change to another program that pays for the caregiver to see you several days a week for several hours. But see, the Medicaid is not one program. It's just a benefit that's included in any number of different programs. So Medicaid is funded by the federal government, but it's administered by the states. And so every state has different rules. The federal government can set parameters on what states are free to experiment with, but just know that different states have different programs and requirements and eligibility requirements to qualify. So another triggering event that means you might be changing government programs is if you move for health reasons, if you have a change in caregivers, if you are moving to Texas to stay with an adult child or to be closer to an adult child or family member, or if you're moving out of the state to go live with somebody or to be nearer to family members, because nowadays our families are spread out all over the place. They're no longer living all in the same town for generations and generations. If you have a question about transitioning between government programs, call the radio station right now on Saturday, August 2nd, 2025 at 210-308-8867, 210-308-8867, or you can post a comment on the Facebook live stream. Just go to Facebook, search for Talk Law Radio, look for the Lady Justice and the red, white, and blue logo, and find the live stream. Okay, so I've been telling you that there's all these different programs that have a Medicaid component. And so you may not even know which program that you need or want or might qualify for. So when I'm helping somebody decide that, I look at factors of the various programs to determine which program suits them. If they want to stay home or if they want to go into an institution. If they want to avoid a wait list, because some of the programs are not entitlement programs, they have limited funding, and so only a certain number of people can receive those benefits at a time, and there might be a wait list. Some of the programs are based on age, like I said before, for kids or for older people or disabled. Disability determination might be required. There are income and resource limits. So generally you have to have low income and low assets, but there are exceptions to the rules. I just made it my business to know the exceptions. There are times when people you live with can cause you to be disqualified because their income is deemed to be yours because you live in the same house. There are some programs that are based on support and maintenance. Some of the programs allow you to create a trust in order to overcome the income limits. Some of the programs have transfer of asset penalties. If you give away your money or if you give away your property, there could be penalties for that. And then you need to know something about Medicaid Estate Recovery Program. So in exchange for the state of Texas providing these benefits, after you pass away, they're going to ask you to reimburse the state with whatever assets you have left. And there are a lot of exceptions to that as well. So that's why you probably need to have an attorney on retainer just to navigate this complicated set of rules and regulations. So the program that you apply for is also going to be different depending on the agency that administers that program. It might be Social Security Administration, it might be Veterans Affairs, it might be Texas Health and Human Services. And then there's going to be different forms that you have to fill out. And so you can call 211, you can Google Texas Medicaid, you can try and do all this yourself if you want to, if you have the time, and if you have the brilliance, the IQ to figure out everything that the government is asking for, then go ahead. But like I said before, it's not just the application. The government's going to want you to prove that you have low income and low assets. And so this is important not only for you, but think about your parents. Do your mom and dad have enough money to pay up to $8,000 a month for 36 months, which is generally the average time that the government thinks that a person will spend in the nursing home? So I'll go over some of the general rules for qualifying for nursing home care. And the reason why I know so much about nursing home Medicaid is because I wanted to help people afford the high cost of nursing home care, because I saw people that would stay home even though the doctor said it would be dangerous, because they didn't want to pay $8,000 a month. And so if cost is the only barrier to you getting into the nursing home, if you want the care, if you want to be taken care of by a nurse 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you're over age 65 or you're otherwise disabled and you meet the medical necessity to be there, then I think that you should be able to get qualified, even if maybe you don't fit the general rules exactly. And this is especially true for spouses. One time my dad's mom, my grandmommy, was in the nursing home, and I was visiting from, because I was living in Texas then, and I said, "How's grandmommy?" talking to my granddaddy, and he said, "They're kicking her out of the nursing home." And I said, "Why would they do that? She's the nicest lady I ever knew. What did she do to get evicted?" What he meant was that Medicare had stopped paying following a hospital stay. And in his mind, that meant she couldn't stay there because they couldn't afford it. And I said, "Granddad, I think there's something you can do to get qualified for Medicaid." And he said, "No, there's not. I already tried." Well, he didn't let me help him, but it sparked my curiosity to go figure it out so that I could help other people. So if you're applying for nursing home Medicaid, the income limit is $2,901 a month, and that's gross income before deductions are taken out. So you have to send Health and Human Services a copy of the benefit verification letters for Social Security or your pension or wherever your income arrives from. So 2,901, and the resource limit's $2,000. But you're allowed to have some other things that don't count against you, like your homestead, your car, your pre-need funeral plan. And so you're allowed to have some things. If you're married, you're allowed to save some money, because the government knows that you might have to fix something that's expensive that you can't cover with just income, like a water heater, a roof, or a foundation that needs to be repaired. And depending on the circumstances, the combined incomes of both spouses, you might be able to save a whole lot of money. Might be able to save the family ranch or the business. So that's when you would call a lawyer. And this is something that attorneys at Marquardt Law Firm can do. Marquardt Law Firm sponsors the show. We focus on business and estate law, elder law, guardianship, probate, trust administration. And so it's easy to get in touch with Marquardt Law Firm by calling 210-530-4278, 210-530-4278, or you can chat online at marquardtlawfirm.com. That's M as in mother, ARQUAR, D as in David, T as in Timothy, lawfirm.com. You can chat online. Well, I got to take another break, and when we come back, we'll be talking about some other updates that people applying for Medicaid need to know. We'll talk about what is a Medicaid asset protection trust. We'll talk about some sinners and saints and legacy too. Stay tuned.
Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt is sponsored by the Marquardt Law Firm and does not attempt to solve your individual legal problems upon the basis of information contained herein. Instead, contact an attorney to discuss the specific facts and circumstances of your unique situation. The views and opinions of this program do not reflect the views of the Salem Media Group.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt. I'm here for you every week talking about the law because in the beginning, God had one law. Don't eat from the fruit of that tree. Then he gave Moses the 10 Commandments. And now we have city, state, and federal lawmakers that won't stop creating new laws. laws that might impact you without you knowing it. I've been talking about my elder law education this week, but now it's time for the sinners and the saints.
I'm a lover, I'm a child, I'm a mother, I'm a sinner, I'm a saint. I do not feel ashamed, I'm your help.
Okay, well, that song reminds us that every now and then we can be a sinner, every now and then we can be a saint. I learned this from Martin Luther, the famous theologian who nailed his 95 Theses to the door of the Castle Church in Wittenberg, Germany, on October 31st, 1517. He said, "The saints are sinners too, but they've been forgiven and absolved because of what Jesus did for us on the cross." Now I want to talk about some specific sinners, and it ties in with what I learned while I was learning about updates in elder law. Somebody from Adult Protective Services came and talked to us. And if Adult Protective Services is involved, somebody has alleged that a sinner is abusing, neglecting, or exploiting an older person or a disabled person. And so I wanted to let you know some things. Here's some terminology. The sinners are alleged perpetrators. That's the term that they use when you call or you email or you go online and you complain about somebody that's mistreating your older or disabled loved one. Could be a caretaker, a family member, or a person with an ongoing relationship with the older person. An allegation is an assertion that a person, the client, the older person, is in a state of harm or at risk of harm because of abuse, neglect, or financial exploitation. If you know somebody that's being abused, neglected, or exploited, you have to call. There's a law that says that we all have to report this. So go online, search for Adult Protective Services in Texas, and you can file a report. And then somebody will call you. You can remain anonymous. Well, that's all I just wanted to say about that. I want to talk about the saints. I don't have a specific saint for you right now, somebody that's done something good, somebody that we should honor and applaud for doing good in the community. I need your help. I'd like for you to give me some advice for a change. Who should we honor? Who should we applaud? There are so many people and organizations helping residents of the Texas Hill Country recover, rebuild, and get reconciled. So call me right now. I'm live on the air at the radio station. You can call 210-308-8867, 210-308-8867, or email me at host@talklawradio.com. That's HOST@talklawradio.com. I just by searching the internet, found that many organizations and individuals deserve recognition for their efforts in supporting Texas Hill Country's recovery after the July 4th floods. The American Red Cross, Catholic Charities of San Antonio, Operation Barbecue Relief, Team Rubicon, Salvation Army, World Central Kitchen, and numerous local volunteers and community members. In fact, I'm going to be talking with Community Foundation of the Texas Hill Country next week. And so it'll be a good time for you to give me some feedback. Let me know who to honor so that I can have some content for this segment of the show next week. Thank you in advance. Okay, I want to talk about some Medicaid updates. And the reason, again, that we're doing this is because the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services projects the average length of long-term care to be 2.8 years. do you have enough money to pay for caregivers for 36 months, or to pay for assisted living for 36 months, or to pay for nursing home for 36 months? And you might be the lucky one who lives a long time and needs a high level of care. Well, the average cost of assisted living is over $5,000 a month. The average cost of a nursing home is over $8,000 a month. So if you multiply 8,000 times 36, that's just the average amount of money that's needed to pay for care. And do you have that saved up? Were you hoping to pass that on as an inheritance to your loved ones? Do you have long-term care insurance? Or do you think the government should pay for you to have long-term care? Well, I'm going to talk about some Medicaid. I got to find my notes here. Medicaid update. Well, the one big beautiful bill that was just passed did have some effects on Medicaid. Number one, retroactivity eligibility was reduced from 3 months to 2 months. So you can't file your application until you need the care. So you have to move into the nursing home, for example, in order to get qualified. That's one of the requirements. You have to be there for 30 days. Also, people get real nervous about, well, how am I going to pay for it if I don't have money? If I have low income and low assets, how am I going to pay for it? Well, that's why typically the government would provide benefits retroactively for 3 months so that you had time to file your application and get it approved. Something else is that the minimum staff hours in nursing facilities are on hold. Another thing that you should be aware of is that if you have a manufactured home, well, we have a caller, David from California. You're live on the air.
Yeah, hi, Todd. I heard you talking about the recent floods, and I had a question about it. I used to study personal injury cases with, there was a magazine called Jury Verdict Research. And so I'd go county seat to county seat and, get data on different kinds of incidents. And when you start looking at that recent flood, if I understand right, the owner of that camp got a waiver for the floodplain. And I think he kind of lobbied FEMA to declare that the floodplain wasn't really a floodplain. And then, of course, the flood and he built cabins closer to the river after he got that waiver.
Mm-hmm.
So now, after the flood and all of his, the tenants, the residents, the guests got flooded out and died. I'm concerned about, you're familiar in insurance law that there's something called an act of God. Well, if a guy goes out of his way to declare that a thing is not a thing, a floodplain is not a floodplain,
Right.
he's defying God. And then are they going to try to declare that all of those people were killed because of God?
Well, I hope that they're not saying that, because God doesn't do bad things. Bad things happen because we live in a fallen world, but he doesn't create harm in our lives, I don't think. But it's a good question about whether there's going to be lawsuits filed. And the news did publish some articles about how the personal injury attorneys were already advertising to get clients to file lawsuits against the camp owners and against the government and all sorts of things. I don't do personal injury or wrongful death. So I don't know the specifics of that, but it's a great issue that we'll watch and see. Thank you for the call.
Well, sure. Yeah, in real terms, though. I look at the laws of physics as the laws of God. You know, if gravity works, that's a law of God.
Mhm.
If a floodplain is a floodplain, and he's able to suborn or convince I think it was FEMA had the maps, and if he was able to cheat FEMA by declaring that a floodplain was not a floodplain in an area they knew was a floodplain, that's not only cheating America, but cheating God.
Yeah, it's a great issue, but I got to take a commercial break. Thank you, David, so much for the
Thanks.
call. Have a good day. Okay, well, we got to take a break, so I'll be right back.
Planning for your summer vacation? Don't forget to plan for the things that really matter. None of us are guaranteed tomorrow. Have you planned for your final affairs? Why spend time and money on vacation plans but neglect your legacy? Contact Marquardt Law Firm today. Our attorneys focus on business and estate law, including last wills, living trusts, and tax-protected inheritance plans. Call 210-530-4278. That's 210-530-4278. Or visit marquardtlawfirm.com.
9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt, on the radio, on podcasts, on Facebook Live right now, and on talklawradio.com. Also, check out my YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, search for Talk Law Radio, and look for the Lady Justice and the red, white, and blue logo. We have another caller. Bert, you're live on the air.
Hey, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Recovering from eye surgery. Excuse me, I have the hiccups.
Well, tell me your thoughts. What's your question?
The question is, about a year ago, I had a fall, and I bit the countertop. And when I woke up, they said he was just an old drunk having a fall, and they refused to have me transported.
So that was the ambulance, you mean?
Yes, that is correct.
Well, that's awful. I'm sorry that happened.
Yeah, so am I. But then when I took the own cab ride to the VA to Audiel Murphy, and I passed out on the floor. So do I have a legal case on that?
Well, a lot of times the government has immunity, and they will only allow themselves to be sued under certain circumstances. If you will email me at the law firm, I can have one of our staff look into it. Just email me at todd@marquardtlawfirm.com or call the office at 210-530-4278.
I can do that, but I just wanted to know, excuse me again, I got the hiccups, like I said. You know.
Still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay.
I was just wondering if I have a legal basis on suing the city of San Antonio, and
Well,
I'm not asking for total.
Yeah, it's very difficult, but we'll ask you a bunch of questions and see if it's a good case. Thank you for the call, though. I'll talk to you later.
All right, I love listening to you.
Bye, Bert.
Bye now.
Okay. I want to talk about what is a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust, because you too can qualify for government benefits if you plan well enough in advance. And you're probably thinking, is that fair? Is that legal? And my answer is, when you pay income taxes, do you simply just multiply the tax rate to your total income? Or do you hire a tax preparer or CPA to advise you about what deductions you can claim? This is like tax planning for the middle class. It's just using the tax dollars you've already paid to allow the government to help you pay the high cost of long-term care or memory care. See, Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, the billionaires, won't pay any federal estate tax, even though there is an estate tax. Do you think they should pay 40% of what they have? Well, they're not going to pay, because ever since they earned their first $1 million, they've had attorneys and accountants on staff helping them to navigate the rules. See, taxes are largely voluntary. It's for people that don't plan. And the same thing is true of government benefits. Back in the olden days, people got in trouble for giving away their assets, for putting their assets in trusts. Well, that's no longer the case. You don't get in trouble as long as you disclose everything that you're doing. So everything that we do is above board, ethical, and legal. And if you're an attorney that thinks that this isn't ethically right to get qualified for government benefits when you're not already broke and poor, well, just think about what an attorney's job is. It's to advocate for a client to get what he's entitled to. And so there are general rules. I went over the general rules before, and there are exceptions to the rules. And then there's exceptions to the exceptions. So the rules now, if you want to move assets into a trust, the rule says that if a transfer is made within the last 60 months, there's a penalty. So if somebody were to establish a trust and fund that trust and stay and remain healthy and independent for 60 months, 5 years, then the question on the Medicaid application, have you transferred assets to a trust within the last 60 months, wouldn't apply to you. But I'm a Juris Doctor, not a medical doctor. So I don't know, I can't predict, I'm not a fortune teller, whether somebody's going to be healthy and independent for the next 5 years or not. A lot of people that I talk to, they say, Todd, why didn't I do this 5 years ago? I said, well, because you didn't want to give up your money then. Well, now there's some ways that you can remain in control and start the process of getting qualified. But I think it's a bad idea just to give away your money to one or two people or all of your family, because number one, they could just go spend it. If it's in a trust, there's rules that a trust has, and they could get in a car accident. They could get sued for bumping into Tony Parker on 281. They could, unforeseen events can happen where they fall ill or they become disabled themselves. Maybe they're not able to even help you anymore. Maybe they get into conflict with their siblings, sibling rivalry, family dynamics are a real thing. So setting up a trust can possibly prevent these problems from happening. It could be good for real estate. It could be good for mineral rights. It could be good for money that you have saved up. The type of trust that I design allows you to continue paying income taxes like you always have. Certain accountants and CPAs will say that a trust has compressed tax brackets or high tax rates. Well, that's certain trusts do, and some trusts do not. And so I designed a trust that's tax neutral. So I just wanted to let you know that it's possible to save money and get qualified for nursing home Medicaid. If you know somebody who is in the nursing home right now and they're paying $8,000 a month, it's worth a second opinion to see if they could get qualified for nursing home Medicaid. Attorneys at Marquardt Law Firm focus on business, estate, elder law, guardianship, probate, and trust administration. You can have a consultation with an attorney by calling 210-530-4278, 210-530-4278. And you can chat online at marquardtlawfirm.com. That's M as in mother, ARQUAR, D as in David, T as in Timothy, lawfirm.com. Okay, there's some other things I wanted to talk about. For the legacy segment, this is the fourth segment. I like to talk about legacy.
And now it's time for the Talk Law Radio Legacy Spotlight. What's your legacy? Sponsored by Marquardt Law Firm.
Well, I wanted to give you a heads up that next Saturday I'm talking to Jane Zirkle, Marketing and Events Manager at the Community Foundation of the Texas Hill Country. They've been doing things to help the residents and businesses out in the Texas Hill Country, the Kerr County area that have been severely affected by the flood that happened on July 4th. But I'd also like for you to give me some advice about who should be honored and applauded for volunteering in the Hill Country to recover and recoup and rebuild for the people that live there. Email me at host@talklawradio, HOST@talklawradio, or comment on Facebook in the live feed right now. You can also message me through Facebook. You can also go to YouTube. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and search for Talk Law Radio. Look for the Lady Justice and the red, white, and blue logo, and then hit subscribe. See, I take this 1-hour radio show and divide it into 4 segments. And then that way, when you're washing the dishes, you can just catch a segment here and there. When you're walking the dog, you can catch another segment. And when you're letting the dogs out to do their business, you can catch another segment. So go to YouTube and subscribe to that YouTube channel. I want to say something else about elder law. When I was studying elder law, I ran across some old English laws. And if you know the history of how the United States law started, well, it started with English law. English law wasn't always written down. At one time, it was just all court cases. Judges made the law. Well, this one guy, William Blackstone, decided to write it all down. And he said that there was a moral responsibility, even higher than the legal, for children to help their needy parents. The duties of children to their parents arise from a principle of natural justice and retribution. For those who gave us existence, we naturally owe subjection and obedience during our minority. Excuse me. And honor and reverence ever after. Well, I'm about to start coughing, so I can't finish reading about William Blackstone. Sorry for my cough condition this morning, but I'll have to see you next time. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Each week, attorney Todd Marquardt talks about the law. His mission with the Talk Law radio show and podcast is to help you discover your legal issue blind spots. In the beginning, God had one law. Don't eat from the fruit of that tree. Then came the Ten Commandments. Now we have federal, state, and municipal lawmakers that won't stop creating new laws. Laws that might impact you without you knowing it. Listen to the show and drop a line on Facebook or email host@talklawradio.com and let the host know what you think of the show, the topics you want to hear, and whether you want to be a guest.